Hello, everybody, and welcome to Lumen Christi Ministries. We are living in difficult times. We are dealing with difficult problems. We are living in that season not just as Christians, but as people as a whole, where we have these difficult problems that we have to face and address in some way. We have these difficult times where we are called to act. We're called to act in some way. I think a problem we as Christians face right now is, are we going to just sit back and let things happen, or are we going to take a stand? Taking a stand can be done in simple ways. It can be done in a simple protest, a simple prayer vigil, praying at an abortion clinic. It can be done in simple ways. We can take a stand in these ways, but the stand I'm talking about is one that many people are not willing to do. And morally, we might not have to actually do it, but there is cause for concern, which many theologians are at difference with. They're not for sure how we're actually called to respond to the main problem that I'd like to highlight right now, which is that Walgreens, CVS, and Rite Aid are going to be distributing the abortion pill, or I guess abortion pills, to customers as they get them prescribed by their doctors. Our local pharmacies are going to become, according to 40 Days for Life, abortion clinics by default. By the default fact that they're selling a pill that provides an abortion, they're going to become abortion clinics. What are we to do with this? I mean, it's one thing to know that a store like Target might contribute to a Planned Parenthood in some way. But it's another thing to know that the very pharmacy, the very store you're going to, is not just giving money to go towards abortion, but they are providing abortion. Now, I'm still a theologian in study, so I've only done a limited amount of research on this topic, and I'm way interested in being able to do more and maybe even writing about it and just writing my thoughts out. But I've come to understand this much: there's different levels to the moral issue here, and as always, it has to do with our intent. What's our intent in going to CVS? What's our intent in going to Walgreens? What's our intent in going to Rite Aid? Are we going there because we know they're supporting we know they're having abortions there, and that's why we're going there? We want to spend money to support what they're doing. Is that why we're going there? If so, then we are committing grave sin in a very serious way. We are participating in the very act of what they're doing. But we have the other situation, which I think more of us fall into, is that I have inhalers, I have medicine that I need to get from somewhere, and this is the closest pharmacy, right? Like we don't like to travel. We're not like the people of the Old Testament, where we don't like to travel in far distances if we don't have to. I'd much rather go to the Kroger up the street a mile than have to go to that pharmacy that's less known and um farther away. Because it's just easier, it's simpler, and I get stuff done faster that way. And but that's might not be the right decision to make, because we do have that moral obligation to take a stand at some point. I think I'm pretty sure that that's true. That we have a moral obligation to take a stand at a certain point. What does this mean? We can continue to go to Walgreens. We can continue to go to CVS and get what is necessary for us without the intent of supporting their abortions. But so long as we're still spending money there, we're still supporting the um the issue. It's like an alcoholic, for example. If we know that we have a family member who's an alcoholic, and we choose to always drink when we're around them, or choose to drink often when we're around them, and knowing that they're an alcoholic, we um offer them an offer them a drink, or don't say anything when they drink. We're really just supporting the issue, and that's where this difficult problem is at what point are we actually supporting the issue by not taking action, by not standing up and saying something. 40 Days for Life is going to be holding a vigil outside of Walgreens and CVS pharmacies, where they don't already have vigils at an abortion clinic. And I think there's something to that. I think there's a recognition that when we recognize an evil is taking place, we have a duty, maybe even a moral duty, to stand up and to say something, to not just sit back and let it happen. And that's where we find ourselves, really. We find ourselves in this difficult situation. We find ourselves in this difficult problem because even if you look into the scriptures, Jesus permits us to pay taxes, right? He tells Peter to give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and to God what belongs to God. So we do have a duty to pay our taxes, even if our taxes are going to abortions, or going to support gender dysphoria, and they're going to support everything that we cannot stand for as Catholics. Cannot stand for because God has instilled it in our hearts that we can't follow these behaviors because they're just not a recognition of truth. And speaking of recognitions of truth, Dr. Newton, one of my professors here at Franciscan University, he wrote an article on this matter, and I will cite it below. But he gave a beautiful lecture yesterday, virtually because I'm on online. Um, he gave a beautiful lecture though about the body and the soul, and how we can't just look at the body without seeing the soul. We can't just look at the body without seeing the soul. What do I mean by that? I mean that the what he said, this is his lecture, his quotes. The body and soul are so intertwined that they cannot be separated because to do so is such a dramatic event. Such a dramatic event. And the way that Father, I think it was Father, yeah, Father put it in his homily, or no, yeah, in his sermon yesterday during adoration. Sorry, a lot of homilies and a lot of sermons, a lot of lectures. But as he put it in his sermon yesterday, his life was on the line. He had a cancer. I think it was a cancer that was life threatening, and he literally had to put his life into the hands of the doctor. And so too it is with this infant child in the womb. It's unable to do anything. It's growing inside the womb, completely dependent upon the mother to take care of him or her. And we see that either we don't recognize this, or we don't believe it, or we're led to not having support. And I think that's one of our biggest issues in our culture today with this issue of abortion, is that it's encouraged, it's not discouraged. It's a way of living, and it's my choice, except you're telling me what to do, so I really don't have a choice anymore. And we're all about my body, but not recognizing that we have a person growing within us. We need to protect these children. We need to protect these mothers and fathers from these false beliefs, these false ideologies, because when we have an abortion, we are killing somebody. And what Dr. Newton said in his lecture was there was this woman who saw somebody die for the first time in her life. She was a nurse, and she saw this person die, and she could sense that the soul was no longer present. It was just a corpse. And this woman also happened to be a nude modelist, and she said that whenever the camera man was taking pictures of her nude, she would close her eyes because it literally took her back to just it. She literally just felt like a corpse. It was her soul was not there. Her soul was not present to the man just taking a picture of her, just getting her body. And these are the issues that face our culture. These are the difficult issues that we have to speak out against. We can't just sit back and continue to let this happen. We can't. We have a moral duty as apostles of Christ. Every time we leave Mass, Father says, "Go in the peace of Christ to love and serve the Lord and one another." That's an apostolic call. That's a call to go out and be a disciple, to be an apostle. We are being sent forth by the high priest, who the priest is in persona Christi, so he's in the the present. He is the high priest here on earth for us, and he's telling us to go out, go forth, preach the gospel, preach the good news. And the good news is that the story doesn't end with all this drama. It ends with good. It ends with good. But while we're waiting for that good to fully manifest, we are obligated to do something. And again, and Dr. Newton notes this in his letter that I will cite at the bottom here. He notes that we all have different calls, right? We all have different places in our life. Right now, I'm a student at Franciscan University with numerous texts to read, numerous assignments to do. So maybe for me right now, doing a video isn't my call. Maybe catching up on a reading or something else in my call. And Dr. Newton talks about the mother who has like 5 kids. Like maybe she's not supposed to be go out and be a pro life activist, but at the same time, we all have this call and recognition in our hearts. This is instilled in us to seek after truth, and that's all I'm seeking to do. And I'm not dogmatically proclaiming anything. I'm not the Pope. I'm not infallible. I'm learning, but it seems to me that this is a topic that we need to do more learning on, and we need to take more recognition in. Is at what point do we push back? 40 Days for Life is already pushing back. They're already protested. They're already taking a stand against these ideologies. But when do we take our stand? When do we say enough is enough? When do we say, you know what? Maybe I won't go to Starbucks anymore because of their support of abortion. Maybe I don't go to Target anymore because of their support of abortion. When do we choose to live that difficult life that we are actually called to embrace? Remember, Jesus said that if they hate you, know that they hated me first. We're called to embrace that life of difficulty. It's not meant to be, life isn't meant to be an easy, fast track way to heaven, necessarily. It's called to be difficult in some aspects, in some ways. And we need to recognize that. We need to recognize the importance of taking a stand, of speaking the truth, and doing so in love. And now let everything be in love. Let everything be in love. If we don't have that right disposition, if we're doing it out of pride, then we're no good. We're no good to the kingdom if we're operating in pride. It's always humility and love. And if it's not, then we have what we have. And that's total chaos. To which only one man can save us. To which only one man can bring true peace. The peace that the world cannot give is the peace that he gives unto us. So as we move forward, as we go forward, as we seek to bring light into the darkness one soul at a time, not just here at Lumen Christi Ministries, hopefully, but whatever you're calling, wherever you are in your life, seek to live by the mission. Seek to live by the call. To bring light into the darkness one soul at a time. To not be afraid to address the difficult matters. To first get informed. Get informed. That is the most important thing we can do in this regard. We need to be informed about what we're talking about before we talk about it. Which is why I haven't cited anything. This is just all my thoughts. I'm not even saying one thing one way or another. I'm just expressing thoughts here. I do have stuff that I would like to talk about or write about that will definitely have more citing, that will definitely have more of the church's backing on what I'm saying. But here I'm just expressing thoughts, which are backed up by the church. They are backed up by the church. I just don't have the documents to cite, not having the time to do all that research. But we need to do that research. We need to understand what the church actually teaches and what the church actually calls us to. And then we need to turn to the Holy Spirit. We need to turn away from all fear. We need to renounce fear, renounce the devil, renounce every evil thing that he seeks to do upon us. We need to turn to the Lord in truth. We need to turn to the Lord in truth. We need to turn to the Lord in peace. We need to turn to the Lord, for he is good, and his love endures forever. So here at Living Christian Ministries, we seek to save one soul at a time. We seek to bring light into the darkness. We seek to talk about these difficult topics that people otherwise don't want to listen to, or that people are hesitant to talk about. I know this was a long one, but we need to not be afraid. We need to speak out, and we need to do so in love, in charity, in truth, because the Lord Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and it's only through Him that we will truly be free.